The alarm on Captain Lee Minho's desk blinked red 3 times before the encrypted message appeared. He read it once, then read it again to make sure his eyes weren't playing tricks on him. His hand reached for the CUM device before his brain fully processed what he was seeing. Ambassador Park. We have a situation. Park Ji-won was in the middle of another boring council meeting when her private channel buzzed. She excused herself quietly, noting the annoyed looks from several alien delegates who thought humans were always too patient for proper diplomatic procedure. She didn't care. Minho never interrupted unless it mattered. What is it? She asked, stepping into the corridor. The Soul's Hope was seized by Velthrine Border Patrol 2 hours ago. All passengers detained. Park, there are 12 kids on that ship. Her blood went cold. Kids? How young? Youngest is 6. Oldest is 14. She closed her eyes and took a breath. The Velthrine were insectoid creatures who followed rules like they were religious commandments. They didn't understand flexibility. They definitely didn't understand human children. Where are they holding them? Station Kethrick 7. Maximum security facility. Maximum security. For a border crossing violation? Her voice rose despite her training. Get me everything. Passenger manifest, crew records, the exact charges. I need it in 10 minutes. Minho was already ahead of her. Sending it now. Park, there's something else. One of the parents got a message out before they cut communications. The kids were separated from the adults. They're in individual cells. Park felt her stomach twist. Individual cells. Isolation. For children as young as 6. The Velthrine had no idea what they'd just done. The Soul's Hope had been a simple transport run. 47 passengers, mostly families heading to the new colony on New Busan. They were excited, hopeful, ready to start fresh on a new world. The route was supposed to be safe, well within charted space. But somewhere near the Velthrine border, sensors had malfunctioned. The ship drifted 300 kilometers into restricted space before the crew even noticed. 300 kilometers. Less than a rounding error in the vast emptiness of space, the Velthrine patrol ship appeared within minutes. Commander Velthra herself led the boarding party. She was efficient, professional, and completely by the book. The ship was in violation. The passengers would be detained pending investigation. The crew would face charges. It was all very standard, very legal. It's very proper, according to Galactic Council regulations. What? Velthra didn't understand was that humans had different rules for their young. When her officers began separating families, pulling crying children from their parents' arms, she saw it as necessary procedure. Criminals couldn't be housed together. They might coordinate stories or plan escapes. Each prisoner required individual assessment and containment. 6-year-old Baesil screamed for her mother until her voice gave out. 8-year-old Choi Nari refused to eat, sitting in the corner of her cell with her knees pulled to her chest. 10-year-old Kim Doyeon stopped talking entirely after the first day. 12-year-old Nam Jin-woo spent hours studying the walls of his cell, looking for weaknesses, counting the seconds between guard patrols. 14-year-old Shinara discovered that if she whispered into the ventilation, great, some of the other kids could hear her. She started organizing them, keeping them together in the only way she could. The adults were frantic. They banged on cell doors, demanding to see their children. The Velthrine guards increased the neural suppression fields in response. The prisoners needed to calm down. The prisoners needed to accept their situation. The prisoners needed to follow protocol. Station Kethrick 7 was designed for hardened criminals. Pirates, smugglers, war criminals from a dozen different species. The cells were small, bare, and isolated. Neural suppression fields prevented telepathic communication and kept prisoners docile. Automated systems monitored vital signs and dispensed nutrition paste 3 times a day. Medical drones responded to physical injuries. Everything was efficient, clean, and completely automated. The system had no programming for childhood trauma. It couldn't detect a 6-year-old crying herself to sleep. It didn't register the psychological damage of separating a child from their parents. It saw only that vital signs were stable, that nutrition was being provided. that the prisoners were contained, Ambassador Park stormed into the Galactic Council chambers without requesting permission to speak. Several delegates gasped at the breach of protocol. High Counselor Braxtel, an amphibious Quolin, who had been mediating a trade dispute, looked up in surprise. Ambassador Park? This is highly irregular. 47 human civilians are imprisoned on Station Kethrick 7, she said, her voice steady but cold. 12 of them are children. The youngest is 6 years old. They've been separated from their parents and placed in maximum security isolation cells designed for adult criminals. Braxtel's skin rippled in confusion. The Soul's Hope violated Velthrine space. Commander Velthra is following proper detention procedures. Proper procedures for adults, Park said. Not for children. Human children are not small adults. They require specific care. They need their parents. What you're doing to them is psychological torture. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others looked confused. The Velthrine representative stood, her mandibles clicking in agitation. Ambassador Park, your emotional response is noted but irrelevant. The law applies equally to all individuals, regardless of age. Your people violated our border. They are being processed according to established protocol. They drifted 300 kilometers off course due to a sensor malfunction, Park shot back. This is a minor technical violation at worst. You've escalated it into an international incident. Braxtel raised one webbed hand. Ambassador, I understand your concern for your people. However, Velthrine law is clear. A formal investigation must be completed before any prisoners can be released. This process takes time. How much time? 6 to 8 weeks. Park felt the room spin. 8 weeks. Those children would be destroyed in 8 weeks. She pulled out her datapad and projected medical scans onto the main screen. This is Choi Nari, 8 years old. She hasn't eaten in 36 hours. Her stress hormones are at dangerous levels. This is Kim Doyeon, 10 years old. His neurological scans show early signs of trauma response. These children are breaking down, Counselor. They won't survive 8 weeks. The Velthrine representative clicked her mandibles again. The medical systems show all prisoners are physically healthy. If the juvenile humans are experiencing distress, the automated systems will adjust accordingly. The automated systems don't understand human psychology, Park said. They're designed for adult criminals from a dozen different species, none of which have prolonged childhoods like humans do. You're killing these kids, and you don't even realize it. Back in his office, Captain Minho was pulling together a team. Lieutenant Han Junho appeared in his doorway before he even sent the summons. I heard. What's the plan? We can't go in guns blazing. That starts a war. Minho pulled up schematics of Station Kethrick 7, but we can't leave them there either. I need Dr. Yoon Suji. Get her here now, the xenopsychologist. She's our ticket in. If Park can convince the council to allow an expert assessment, Yoon can get inside the facility legally. Once she's in, we'll have eyes on the situation. And then, Minho's jaw tightened. Then we get those kids out one way or another. An hour later, Park's communicator buzzed with an emergency alert. Medical drones had detected critical vital signs in one of the juvenile prisoners. Choi Naris's heart rate had dropped dangerously low. The automated system had administered stimulants, but she wasn't responding. Park showed the alert to the council. This is happening now. Not in 8 weeks. Now, I'm formally requesting immediate access for a human medical specialist. Braxtel looked at the data, his large eyes reflecting genuine concern for the first time. Granted. One specialist, supervised access only. Park sent the authorization to Minho. He forwarded it to Dr. Yoon Suji with a simple message. You're in. Get ready. In her cell on Station Kethrick 7, Choi Nari lay on the cold floor, staring at nothing. She had stopped crying hours ago. She just wanted her mother. She just wanted to go home. Through the ventilation shaft, she heard a whisper. Shinara's voice, steady and strong despite being just 14. Hold on, Nari. Someone's coming. Just hold on a little longer. Nari closed her eyes and tried to believe her. Dr. Yoon Soji had treated trauma cases before, but never like this. The briefing from Captain Minho was clear and terrifying. 12 children, ages 6 to 14, isolated in maximum security cells for nearly 3 days. No parental contact. Neural suppression fields. Automated care systems designed for adult criminals. Your job is to assess their condition, Minho said. But while you're doing that, I need you to map the facility. Guard rotations, security systems, structural weaknesses. Everything. Yoon adjusted her medical bag. You're planning a rescue. I'm planning for every possibility. She arrived at Station Kethrick 7 with Lieutenant Han Junho as her security escort. The station was massive, a dark metal structure floating in the void. As their shuttle docked, Yoon felt her hands trembling. She forced them still. These kids needed her calm and focused. Warden Krethnok met them in the processing center. He was Shardri, a crystalline being whose body reflected light in strange, beautiful patterns. His voice resonated like wind chimes. Dr. Yoon, welcome. I understand you're concerned about the juvenile prisoners. It's putting it mildly, Yoon said. I need to see them immediately, of course. I assure you, all prisoners are receiving excellent care. Our systems are state-of-the-art. Yoon bit back a sharp response. She needed access, not an argument. I'm sure they are, Warden. I'm here to ensure the human juveniles' unique needs are being met. Krethnok led them through corridor after corridor. The station was clean, efficient, and completely sterile. Everything was automated. Food dispensers, medical drones, security monitors. Very few actual guards. The Shardri believed in letting technology handle the tedious work of imprisonment. The juvenile prisoners are housed in Section 7, Krethnok explained, separate from the adults to prevent coordination or influence. Each has their own cell with proper ventilation, temperature control, and medical monitoring. And no human contact, Yoon said.
Contact disease.
Contact is unnecessary for basic care. Our systems provide everything required for survival and health.
House.
Survival. Not recovery. Not mental health. Just survival. The first cell she entered belonged to Kim Doyan, the 10-year-old who had stopped talking. He sat on the floor in the corner, staring at the wall. His eyes were open but empty. When Yoon approached, he didn't even look at her. Doyeon, she said softly. My name is Dr. Yoon. I'm human like you. I'm here to help. Nothing. No response. No recognition? She ran her scanner over him. Physically, he was fine. Perfect vital signs. The automated system had been feeding him, hydrating him, keeping his body alive. But his mind was shutting down. She'd seen it before in extreme trauma cases. The brain's way of protecting itself when reality became too much to handle. He stopped speaking on day 2, Krethnok said from the doorway. The medical system detected no physical cause. We assumed he was simply being non-cooperative. A 10-year-old child having a psychological breakdown, and they thought he was being difficult. Yoon moved to the next cell. Bea Seal, age 6. The little girl was curled into a ball on her bed, thumb in her mouth. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. When she saw Yoon, she scrambled to the back of the cell, terrified of another stranger. It's okay, sweetheart, Yoon said, her heart breaking. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to take you to your mom. At the word mom, Iseal's face crumpled. She started crying again, huge gasping sobs that shook her small body. The automated system detected elevated stress and released a mild sedative into the air. Yoon caught the scent, and her anger flared. Turn that off, she snapped at Krethnok. Now, it's standard procedure for emotional distress. She's 6 years old and terrified. Sedating her will make it worse. Turn it off. Krethnok hesitated, then complied. The sedative stopped flowing. Yul knelt beside Iseal's bed, not touching but close enough. I know you're scared. I know you want your mom. I'm going to make that happen, okay? But I need you to be brave for just a little longer. Cell by cell, she assessed them. Choi Neri, the 8-year-old, was dangerously dehydrated and showing signs of depression. 12-year-old Nam Jinwoo was physically healthy, but had scratches on his fingers from trying to pry open ventilation grates. He was looking for escape routes. Smart kid. Then she reached Shinera's cell. The 14-year-old stood when Yoon entered, her posture straight despite 3 days of isolation. Her eyes were sharp, alert, calculating. "You're human," Ara said. "You're here to get us out." Yoon glanced at the monitoring equipment. "I'm here to assess your condition. My condition is that I've been keeping 11 other kids from completely losing it through a ventilation system. 3 of them are under 8. They need their parents. They needed them 3 days ago." This girl was remarkable. 14 years old, and she'd been acting as a lifeline for the other children. "I've seen them. I'm documenting everything. Will it matter?" Ara asked. "These aliens, they don't understand. I've been listening to the guards. They think we're just small adults. They don't get that kids need different things. Some people are working on making them understand," Yoon said carefully. Ara stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I've been mapping the guard rotations. There are only 6 actual guards on this entire level. Everything else is automated. The ventilation system connects to the adult cells 2 sections over. If someone could disable the automated security, we could move through the vents. The kids who are big enough anyway." Lieutenant Han, standing in the doorway, caught Yoon's eye. This 14-year-old was planning a prison break. "It's very observant," Yoon said. "But let's focus on getting everyone out legally first." "Ah!" "And if that doesn't work?" Yoon didn't answer. She finished her assessment and requested access to the adult prisoners. Krethnok was hesitant, but agreed. The adults were in worse shape than the children in some ways. They knew what was happening to their kids and couldn't stop it. Several had injuries from throwing themselves against cell doors. Others sat in silence, broken by helplessness. One father, Bae Hunhwa, grabbed the bars when he saw Yoon. "My daughter. Isil, is she alive?" "She's alive," Yoon said. "Scared, but alive." His legs gave out. He collapsed against the bars, sobbing. "Please, please get her out of here. She's just 6. She doesn't understand. She thinks we abandoned her." Yoon documented everything. The children's conditions, the adults' trauma, the complete inadequacy of automated systems for human psychological care. She recorded video testimony, medical scans, behavioral observations. When she was finished, she had enough evidence to bury the Velthrine in council proceedings for years. Back on their shuttle, Lieutenant Han pulled out a small device. "I mapped the security systems while you were working. Captain Minho will want to see this. How bad is it in there?" Yoon asked. "Bad, but not impossible." "What?" He looked at his notes. "The station relies too much on automation. There are gaps. Vulnerabilities. If we had to go in, can we get everyone out alive?" "The kids?" "Yes. The adults. Probably, but it won't be clean." Yoon thought about little Isil crying for her mother. About Doyen's empty eyes. About Era trying to hold everyone together through sheer force of will. How long can they last in there? Honestly, it's not long. Maybe a week before the psychological damage becomes permanent. Some of them are already on the edge, it reported to Captain Minho within the hour. He listened to everything, watched the video evidence, studied Han's security analysis. Ambassador Park joined via secure channel. "I'm presenting this to the council tomorrow," Park said. "But Braxtel has already told me the investigation takes 6 weeks minimum. They won't expedite it. The kids don't have 6 weeks," Yoon said. "ICL might not have 6 days." Minho pulled up star charts. Admiral Kang Haijin is 3 days out with a battle group. She was already headed this direction for exercises. I've asked her to adjust course. "A battle group?" Park's voice rose. "Minho, that's insurance," he said. "I'm not starting a war, Park, but I'm not watching those kids die while the council debates procedure. Admiral Kong will park outside the station's defense perimeter. Just close enough to make a point. The council will see it as a threat." "Good. Let them." Meanwhile, back on Station Ketherick 7, Shinera was whispering through the ventilation grate to the other kids. "The doctor was human. That means people know we're here. That means someone's coming. When? Asked Nam Jinwoo from his cell. I don't know. We just have to hold on. In another cell, Choi Nari tried to eat the nutrition paste the system provided. It tasted like nothing and everything at the same time. She managed 3 bites before her stomach rebelled. She could hear Era's voice through the vent, telling them to be strong. She wanted to be strong. She really did. But she was only 8 years old. And she just wanted her mom. Warden Krethnak reviewed Dr. Yoon's report with growing confusion. The human doctor had documented severe psychological distress in all 12 juvenile prisoners. But the medical system showed they were all healthy. Their bodies were functioning perfectly. What was the problem? He pulled up comparative data on juvenile development across different species. His own people, the Shardri, reached full maturity at age 3. Velthrine matured in 2 years. Most council species had short childhoods and rapid development. Extended childhood was rare in the galaxy. For the first time, Krethnak began to understand. These weren't small adults. The news spread through human space like fire through dry grass. 12 children imprisoned, separated from their parents, held in maximum security isolation. Every human colony, every station, every ship heard the story within hours. And every human who heard it felt the same primal rage. Admiral Kung Haijin watched the messages flood in as her battle group pushed engines past recommended speeds. Colonists demanding action. Politicians calling for war. Parents terrified it could happen to their own children. She'd been in the service for 30 years and never seen humans this united. This angry, this ready to fight. Admiral. We're getting hails from Earth Defense Command, her communications officer reported. They're asking our ETA. Tell them 51 hours at current speed. Tell them we're not slowing down. Her battle group consisted of 8 ships. Not an invasion force, but enough to make a statement. The flagship Inchin, 2 heavy cruisers, 3 destroyers, and 2 fast attack ships. Enough firepower to level a station. Enough restraint to park outside it and wait at the Galactic Council station. Ambassador Park prepared for the emergency session she'd demanded. She had Dr. Yoon's evidence, video testimony from the children, medical scans showing psychological deterioration. She had everything she needed to make her case, except she wasn't sure it would matter. The council chambers were full when she arrived. Every major species had sent representatives. The Velthrine delegation was present in force, clearly expecting an attack on their legal procedures. High Counselor Braxtel looked tired, his amphibious skin a dull gray instead of its usual vibrant blue. Ambassador Park, he began, this emergency session was granted at your request. Please present your case. Park activated the holographic display. Images of the children appeared, rotating slowly. Baesil, 6 years old, eyes red from crying. Kim Doyeon, 10, staring at nothing. Choi Nari, 8, curled in a ball. All 12 of them, broken by 5 days of isolation. These are human children, Park said, her voice steady. They range from 6 to 14 years old. They've been imprisoned in maximum security isolation cells for 5 days. They've been separated from their parents. They've been treated with neural suppression fields and automated care systems designed for adult criminals. The Velthrine representative, Commander Velthra herself, stood. Ambassador, these individuals violated Velthrine space. Our laws apply equally to all, regardless of age. We are following proper procedures for adults, Park interrupted. Not for children. Watch. She played Dr. Yoon's recordings. Kim Doyen's complete lack of response. Baesil's terrified crying. Choi Nari's dangerous dehydration. The automated system trying to sedate a 6-year-old having a panic attack. Human children are not small adults, Park continued. Their brains are still developing. They lack the emotional regulation of adults. They require parental bonding for psychological health. Isolation doesn't just cause them distress. It causes permanent neurological damage. What you're doing isn't detention. It's torture. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others looked confused. A delegate from the Krill Collective, an aquatic species, spoke up. Ambassador, I sympathize with your emotional distress. but children of many species face hardship. It builds character and resilience. Surely these juveniles will adapt. Park wanted to scream. Instead, she pulled up comparative developmental data. Krill juveniles reach full cognitive maturity at age 4. Human children don't reach full brain development until their mid-20s. Their emotional centers, their ability to process trauma, their capacity for self-regulation, all of it, is still forming. You're not building character. You're breaking them. Braxton studied the data. This is concerning, Ambassador. However, the legal process cannot be circumvented simply because the prisoners are young. Velthrine law is clear. The investigation must be completed. 6 to 8 weeks, Park said. These children will not survive 6 to 8 weeks in those conditions with their minds intact. Some of them won't survive 6 to 8 days. That seems unlikely, Velthra said. The medical systems show all prisoners are physically healthy. Physical health isn't the issue. Park's control slipped for a moment. She took a breath. Commander, your people mature quickly. Most species represented here do, but humans are different. Our extended childhood is what makes us resilient as adults, but it also makes our children extremely vulnerable. You're treating them like criminals when they're victims of a sensor malfunction. A new voice spoke up. Counselor Thexera, an avian species known for their scholarly nature. Ambassador Park, I've been researching human development since this incident began. May I present my findings? Park nodded, surprised. Thexera's feathers ruffled as she activated her own display. Human childhood is unusually long compared to most galactic species. This extended development period allows for complex social learning, advanced problem-solving skills, and remarkable adaptability. However, it also creates a period of extreme vulnerability that lasts years, sometimes over a decade. She pulled up historical data. I've studied human history. Do you know what humans do when they're young, are threatened? I found documentation of your various wars, conflicts, and protective responses. In your year 480 BCE, a force of 300 Spartans held off an army of thousands to protect their home and children. In your year 1945, you developed weapons capable of destroying entire cities in response to attacks on your people. In your year 2156, a human colony fought off a raider force 10 times their size because the raiders tried to take hostages, including children. The chamber went quiet. The pattern is clear, Thexera continued. Humans are generally peaceful, reasonable, and cooperative, but threaten their young, and they become something else entirely. This isn't cultural. It's biological. Evolution gave them fierce protective instincts because their young are vulnerable for so long. Velthra's mandibles clicked in agitation. You're saying humans are dangerous because they protect their offspring? All species do that. It's not like humans do, Thexera said. Most species protect their young, yes, but human young are helpless for years. A human child can't defend itself, can't find food, can't survive alone. So evolution made human adults extremely protective. You haven't just imprisoned children. You've triggered every protective instinct their species has. Park felt a chill. Thexera understood. Finally, someone understood. There's more, Thexera said. I've been monitoring human communication networks since this incident began. Every human colony is talking about it. Every human ship. Every human station. They're not angry about a legal violation. They're not concerned about diplomatic procedure. They're seeing 12 of their young in danger, and their collective response is to eliminate that danger by any means necessary. Braxton's skin shifted to a worried purple. Are you suggesting humans will attack over this? I'm saying you've made a catastrophic diplomatic error, Thexera replied. You've imprisoned their young and told them to wait 6 weeks for a legal process. To humans, that's not justice. That's a threat to their children with a bureaucratic delay. If on cue, an alert flashed on the main screen. A council security officer spoke up. Hi, Counselor, we're detecting a human battle group approaching. 8 ships. They'll be in sensor range within 48 hours. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouting, demanding explanations, calling it an act of war. Park stood calmly at her podium, waiting for silence. "That's Admiral Kang Haijin," she said when the noise died down. "She's not here to attack. She's here to make sure you understand how seriously humans take this situation. This is an outrageous show of force." Velthra protested. "Is it?" Park asked. "You imprisoned our children. We're showing up with 8 ships. That's not a war fleet. That's a rescue mission. If we wanted war, you'd already be dead." The bluntness shocked the chamber into silence. Counselor Vexara spoke again, her voice gentle but firm. "I want to make sure everyone understands what's happening here. The Velthrine have committed no legal violation. They followed proper procedure. But they've accidentally triggered a species-wide protective response from humanity. The humans aren't being irrational. They're being exactly what evolution made them." She pulled up more data. "I found records of human responses to child endangerment throughout their history. Parents who lifted impossible weights to free trapped children. Soldiers who charged enemy positions alone to rescue young hostages. Civilians who ran into burning buildings. Humans will sacrifice themselves for their young without hesitation. It's not bravery. It's instinct." Braxtel looked at Park. "Ambassador, what do you want?" "Release the children immediately. Return them to their parents. Drop all charges related to the sensor malfunction, and implement protocols to ensure this never happens again to any species. The investigation can continue without holding children in isolation," Park said. "Interview the adults. Examine the ship's logs. Do whatever investigation you need. But those children go home today." A new message appeared on Park's private channel. She glanced at it, and her expression hardened. "I just received word that Bay Isol, age 6, has stopped responding to external stimuli. She's shutting down, Counselor. A 6-year-old child is dying because your systems don't understand human psychology." The message came through encrypted channels at 0300 station time. Captain Lee Min-ho read it twice, then gathered his team. Lieutenant Han Jun-ho, Dr. Yoon Soji, and 6 security specialists assembled in the briefing room within minutes. They all knew why they were there. "We've got a problem," Min-ho said, pulling up recent intelligence. "The Mekros Consortium knows the Council is about to order the prisoners' release. They're not happy about it. Our sources say they've hired mercenaries to resolve the situation before that happens." Han went pale. "Resolve how? By making sure there's no one left to release?" The room went cold. Dr. Yoon gripped the edge of the table. "They're going to kill the children." "They're going to kill everyone," Min-ho said. "Adults, children, crew. Make it look like an accident or a riot. The consortium wants that star system, and dead witnesses can't testify about manufactured border violations." "When?" Han asked. "Mercenary ships were spotted heading toward Station Kethrick 7. They'll arrive in 8 hours. Admiral Kang is still 12 hours out." The math was simple and terrible. The mercenaries would get there for hours before help arrived. For hours to massacre 47 people, including 12 children. "We're going in," Min-ho said. It wasn't a question. "Sir, we have 6 security specialists and a doctor," one of the team members said. "That station has automated defenses and at least 20 guards, plus however many mercenaries show up." "Then we better be smart about it." Min-ho pulled up the station schematics Han had mapped. "The station's weakness is its reliance on automation. We don't need to fight everyone. We need to break the systems and get the prisoners to the docking bay before the mercenaries arrive." Dr. Yoon studied the layout. "The children are in Section 7. The adults in Section 5. We can't leave anyone behind." "We won't," Min-ho promised. "Han, you'll lead the extraction team for the adults. I'll take the children's section. Yoon, you're with me? Those kids will be terrified. They need a familiar face." Staff Sergeant Oh Taiwan, the Marine team leader, spoke up. "What about the mercenaries? We'll have a few hours head start if we move now. With luck, we'll be gone before they arrive." "Without luck," Min-ho met each person's eyes. "Without luck, we hold them off until Admiral Kang gets here." They launched within 30 minutes. 2 small, fast ships, dark and quiet. The kind of vessels that didn't show up well on sensors. As they approached Station Kethrick 7, Minho reviewed the plan one more time. It was risky. It was probably insane. But doing nothing meant watching 12 children die back on the station. Shin Era finally removed the ventilation grate in her cell. It had taken hours of careful work with a piece of sharp plastic she'd broken off the food dispenser. Nam Jinwoo had done the same in his cell. Through the ventilation system, they'd coordinated their efforts. "I think I can fit through," Jinwoo whispered. "I'm going to try to reach the others." "Start with the little ones," Ara said. "Isil Nari, Doyeon. They need help first." Jinwoo squeezed into the ventilation shaft. It was tight, dark, and terrifying. But he'd been mapping it in his head for days. He knew where each cell connected. He crawled through the darkness. Guided by the sound of quiet crying, Minho's team breached the station through a maintenance airlock Han had identified. The automated systems logged it as routine maintenance traffic. By the time security noticed something wrong, the team was already inside. They split up. Han and 3 specialists headed for Section 5, where the adults were held. Minho, Yoon, and 2 specialists made for Section 7. They moved quickly through empty corridors, avoiding security cameras that Dr. Yoon's equipment looped with false footage in the command center. Warden Krethnak noticed unusual activity on his monitors. Maintenance traffic at 0400 station time. He pulled up the logs, his crystalline mind processing the data. Something was wrong. Then alarms started blaring. Unauthorized access in Sections 5 and 7. Security breaches. Automated defenses activating. Krethnak understood instantly. Someone was rescuing the prisoners. And if someone was coming for them, that meant they were in real danger. He made a choice that would haunt and define him forever. He hit the emergency override and deactivated the automated defenses in Sections 5 and 7. The human rescuers stopped, confused, as the automated turrets powered down. Minho didn't waste time questioning their luck. "Move. We've got minutes before someone reactivates those systems." They reached the children's section. Yoon ran ahead, calling out, "Isil. Nari Doyeon. It's Dr. Yoon. We're here to take you home." Cell doors began opening. Not because Minho's team opened them, but because Warden Krethnak was doing it from the command center. The children emerged, confused and terrified. Some could barely walk. Choi Nari collapsed when her cell door opened. Yoon caught her. "I've got you, sweetheart. We're going home." Then Shin Era appeared, helping little Bae Isil walk. Behind them came Nam Jinwoo, supporting Kim Doyeon. "They're all accounted for," Era reported, her voice steady, despite obvious fear. 12 children, present and mobile. More or less. Minho stared at the 14-year-old. "You organized them." "Someone had to," she said. "Are we leaving or not?" In Section 5, Han's team was herding 35 adult prisoners toward the docking bay. Several were injured from their attempts to break out. Others were in shock. But when they saw their children being brought out, something changed. The weakness, the despair, the helplessness, all of it vanished. They became focused, determined, ready to fight if needed. Bae Hoon-woo caught his daughter Isil in his arms and sobbed. Other parents found their children, holding them tight. For a moment, the rescue stopped as families reunited. "We have to move," Minho said. Now, they made it halfway to the docking bay when the mercenaries arrived. 12 ships, heavily armed. They bypassed normal docking procedures and breached the station through multiple entry points. These weren't professionals bound by rules of engagement. These were killers hired to leave no witnesses. "Contact," one of Minho's specialists shouted. "Multiple hostiles, Section 3. Minho pushed the group of prisoners toward the docking bay. "Go! Get to the ships!" "Han, get them out of here." "What about you?" Han asked. "Someone has to slow the mercenaries down. Take the children." "That's an order." Staff Sergeant O. Taiwan stepped forward. "I'll stay with the captain. Marines don't leave Marines behind." 2 more specialists joined them. For humans against dozens of mercenaries. The math was terrible, but it might buy enough time. The battle was savage. The mercenaries had better weapons and more numbers. But they weren't expecting the ferocity they encountered. The human soldiers fought like demons, using every trick, every advantage, every bit of cover. They weren't fighting for territory or victory. They were fighting to save children, one of the mercenaries. Commander Drelvix, a veteran of 20 campaigns, watched in horror as a human soldier took 3 plasma shots to the chest and kept fighting long enough to collapse a corridor on the advancing mercenaries. He'd never seen anything like it. Fall back. Drelvix ordered his troops. These humans are insane. We have our orders, his second-in-command said. Orders don't matter if we're all dead. Fall back. In the command center, Krethnak watched everything on his monitors. The humans fighting desperately. The children being evacuated. The mercenaries advancing. He made another choice. He activated the station's emergency broadcast. This is Warden Krethnak of Station Kethrix 7. We are under attack by mercenary forces hired by the Mekros Consortium. They are attempting to murder imprisoned civilians, including 12 human children. I am requesting immediate assistance from any nearby vessels. The message went out on all frequencies. Within minutes, 3 cargo ships and 2 mining vessels changed course toward the station. They weren't military, but they weren't going to stand by while children were murdered. In the docking bay, Han got the last of the children aboard. Little Isil was crying but alive. Nari was unconscious but breathing. Doyon still wasn't talking, but he was safe. All 12 children accounted for. Where's Captain Minho? Shin Ara demanded. He's buying us time. We have to go. Not without him. Han grabbed her shoulders. He ordered us to save you. All of you. That's what we're doing. The ships launched just as Admiral Kong's battle group arrived. The Admiral took one look at the tactical situation and made her decision. All ships, battle stations, target those mercenary vessels. Anyone who fires on evacuation ships is hostile. The mercenaries saw 8 military warships appear, and their resolve crumbled. They retreated, abandoning the station. Commander Dralvik sent a message to his employer. Contract terminated. We don't kill children for anyone. Back inside the station, Minho and his team were pinned down. Sergeant O was wounded, but still fighting. Then the mercenaries suddenly withdrew. Minho didn't understand why until he heard Admiral Kong's voice on all channels. This is Admiral Kong Haijin of the Human Defense Fleet. Station Kethrix 7 is now under our protection. Any hostile action will be met with overwhelming force. Stand down or be destroyed. Minho slumped against the wall. About time you showed up, Admiral. Marine landing parties secured the station. Medical teams rushed to treat the wounded. And on the human ships, 47 survivors huddled together, traumatized but alive. Parents held their children. Families clung to each other. 3 weeks after the rescue, Ambassador Park Juan stood before the full Galactic Council. The chamber was packed with delegates from every member species. Media drones captured every word for broadcast across known space. This wasn't just another diplomatic session. This was history being made. The evidence against the Mekros Consortium was overwhelming. Mercenary testimony. Financial records. Intercepted communications. CEO Varntok had ordered the deaths of 47 civilians, including 12 children, to secure mining rights to a star system. The galaxy watched as he was arrested in his executive office, still insisting he'd done nothing wrong. It was just business, he said as security led him away. They were obstacles. Those words sealed his fate. Humans weren't the only species horrified by his actions. Even races with short childhoods and rapid maturation found the deliberate targeting of young beings abhorrent. The consortium collapsed within days, its assets seized, its leadership facing trial. But the legal consequences for the consortium weren't what Park was here to address. She had bigger goals. The events at Station Kethrix 7 have forced us to confront an uncomfortable truth, Park began. The Galactic Council's laws and procedures are based on assumptions that don't apply to all species. When the Velthrine detained the passengers of the Soul's Hope, they followed proper procedure. They committed no legal violation. Yet their actions nearly killed 12 children and triggered a crisis that almost became a war. High Counselor Braxtel nodded slowly. We have reviewed the incident extensively, Ambassador. The Council acknowledges that our protocols were inadequate. Inadequate is a gentle word for it, Park said. My people have a saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But what happens when the law itself is ignorant? When legal procedures designed for one type of being cause harm to another? She activated the holographic display. Not images of the children this time, but comparative data on childhood development across dozens of species. The differences were staggering. Some species matured in months. Others took decades. Some were born fully conscious and aware. Others needed years to develop basic cognitive functions. We're asking the Council to establish new protocols, Park continued. Not just for humans, but for all species with extended juvenile development periods. These protocols must recognize that young beings require specialized care, that isolation can cause permanent psychological damage, and that separating juveniles from their caregivers should be an absolute last resort. Counselor Thexara stood, her feathers rustling. I have worked with Ambassador Park on drafting these protocols. They're based on the best available science and include input from xenopsychologists, developmental specialists, and legal experts from 15 different species. I urge the Council to adopt them. The Velthrian representative, Commander Velthra, rose hesitantly. Ambassador Park, I must speak. My people followed our laws. We believed we were being just and humane. We had no intention of causing harm. Yet we did cause harm. Terrible harm. For this, I formally apologize on behalf of the Velthrian Collective. The chamber went silent. Formal apologies were rare in council proceedings. Velthra continued, her mandibles trembling slightly. I have reviewed Dr. Yoon's documentation. I have studied human childhood development. I understand now what we did. We treated vulnerable young beings as criminals. We isolated them when they needed comfort. We followed procedure and created trauma. This was not justice. This was cruelty born of ignorance. Park appreciated the apology, but she needed more than words. Commander, will the Velthrian Collective support the new protocols? Yes, without reservation. One by one, other delegates voiced their support. The protocols passed with now unanimous approval. They were officially named the Juvenile Protection Protocols, but everyone called them by their informal name, the Nari Protocols. After the 8-year-old whose near death had helped spark the crisis, the protocols were comprehensive. They required psychological assessment of all juvenile detainees. They mandated that juveniles be kept with family members whenever possible. They established specialized care requirements for species with extended development periods. They created oversight committees to ensure compliance. Most importantly, they recognized a simple truth. Being young was not a crime, and youth itself required protection. But Park wasn't finished. There's one more matter the Council must address. Warden Krethnek of Station Kethric 7 violated his own protocols to help rescue the prisoners. He deactivated automated defenses, opened cell doors, and broadcast a distress call that saved lives. His actions were technically illegal. I'm formally requesting that all charges against him be dropped. Braxtol looked surprised. Ambassador, the warden has already resigned his position. He feels responsible for what happened. You should feel responsible, Park said. He was responsible, but he's also the reason those children are alive. When he understood his mistake, he fixed it. That takes courage. The galaxy needs more people like that, not fewer. The charges were dropped. Krethnak, watching from his homeworld, wept tears of crystalline liquid. He had expected punishment, exile, perhaps even imprisonment. Instead, he received something unexpected: forgiveness and a chance to make things right. He dedicated himself to studying juvenile development across all species. His research became the foundation for new training programs for law enforcement and corrections officers galaxy-wide. He never forgot the children he'd harmed through ignorance, and he spent the rest of his life ensuring no one else would make his mistakes. On the human flagship, Inchin, the 47 survivors of the Soul's Hope prepared for their journey home. The colony mission was canceled. No one had the heart to continue after what they'd been through. Instead, they would return to Earth and its surrounding colonies. where they could heal in familiar surroundings. Dr. Yoon Soji worked with the children daily. Some were recovering faster than others. Shin Era, the 14-year-old who'd kept everyone together, was remarkably resilient. She'd already decided to study psychology and interspecies relations. "Someone needs to teach aliens about human kids," she said. "Might as well be me." Nam Jinwoo, the 12-year-old who'd mapped the prison, was considering a career in engineering. "I want to design better systems. Systems that can't hurt people by accident." The younger children needed more time. Baesil still had nightmares. Choi Nari struggled with anxiety. Kim Doyan was speaking again but remained withdrawn. They had a long road ahead, but they weren't walking it alone. Their families, their communities, and the entire human support network were there for them. Captain Lee Minho received a commendation for his actions, though he felt he didn't deserve it. "I was just doing my job," he told Admiral Kang. "Your job was to wait for proper authorization," Kang replied. "You went in anyway because it was right. That's not just doing your job. That's being a hero. Tell that to the specialists who got wounded. Tell that to Sergeant O, who's still in recovery." They all said they'd do it again. The incident changed how the galaxy viewed humans. Before, humans were seen as one of many species. Competent, sometimes aggressive, generally reasonable. After Station Kethrick 7, that view shifted. Humans were recognized as a species with a dangerous protective instinct. They would negotiate, cooperate, and compromise on almost anything. But threaten their young, and they became something else entirely. Several species began studying human history more carefully. They found the pattern repeated across millennia. Parents who fought impossible odds to save their children. Soldiers who sacrificed everything to protect refugees. Entire civilizations that went to war over the mistreatment of their young. One alien. Anthropologists published a paper titled Human Protective Behavior and Evolutionary Perspective. The conclusion was simple. Humans evolved on a dangerous world where their young required years of care to survive. Any human lineage that didn't fiercely protect its offspring went extinct. What we see in modern humans is the result of millions of years of selection pressure, favoring those willing to sacrifice everything for their children. This isn't cultural, it's biological. It's what makes them human. The paper became required reading in diplomatic academies across the galaxy. 5 years after the incident, the former prisoners gathered for a reunion on Earth. They met at a memorial park that had been built to honor their ordeal. At the center was a statue of a human adult sheltering a child, with an inscription, "To protect the vulnerable is not weakness. It is the foundation of civilization." Baesil, now 11 years old, stood before the statue with her father. She was happy, healthy, pursuing her love of art. The nightmares still came sometimes, but they were fading. "Dad, do you think it was worth it? Everything that happened?" Bae Hoon-wo put his arm around his daughter. "Nothing that happened to you was worth it." But what came after? The new laws. The protection for other kids? Maybe that was worth something. Nearby, Shinara, now 19, chatted with Nam Jinwoo, 17. They'd both been accepted to the Interspecies Relations Academy. They would spend the next 4 years learning to bridge the gap between humans and other species. Using their experiences to help prevent future misunderstandings, Kim Do-won, now 15, was there with his family. Asterisk.